now we're getting to the latest in the trial of rapper Young Thug. The 31-year-old is appearing in court today, where a judge will decide if his own rap lyrics can actually be used in a RICO case against him. Thug, whose real name is Jeffrey Williams, is up against 2 charges: conspiracy to violate the RICO Act and also participation in criminal street gang activity. He faces life in prison.
Okay, madam, you were here present for an order for show cause. Just a recall or recap your situation. We called you in for a jury service on May the 19th. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right. On May the 19th, you expressed to my court staff that you were very angry, and you're the person that called the fire marshal that day, weren't you?
Yes, sir.
All right. Did you? And the fire marshal arrived, and
So this is a change of events from last year after Young Thug's lawyers argued that the use of these rap lyrics is racist and prejudice. So if a judge welcomes the use of rap lyrics, how do you think this might change the course of this trial?
indicated to us that we were not over the above authorized number for that particular space, and that we still had proceedings on that day. You recall that?
I recall it, yes.
Okay. Do you also recall that you were supposed to come back?
It's going to change the course of the trial because now they'll be able to use all of these lyrics that were previously recorded, believing that they had artistic expression under the First Amendment, will now be able to be used against them. It'll be used as evidence that the state is alleging of these crimes that they're saying that he committed. So that's going to have a very chilling effect. It's also going to bring some challenges around that artistic expression and the First Amendment. That's going to spin off of this trial without a doubt.
And did you fill out have you filled out your initial questionnaire?
Yes, I came back to do that.
Okay, did you do that on the 21st of June?
Yes.
All right.
So this case has definitely sparked a movement to protect Black art and freedom of speech. And testifying today are experts on rap music, including the co-author of Rap on Trial, Eric Nielsen. So what are Young Thug's lawyers likely trying to prove by putting this type of witness on the stand, Shauna?
So you were supposed, and at that point in time, you were supposed to be examined for hardship. Is that right?
Correct.
All right. And you left. Is that correct?
On the 21st of June.
Yes.
After I finished filling out the form they sent, I'll come back on the date that I was supposed to come back for.
Okay. All right. And
I missed that date.
Why did you miss that date, madam?
I was at work, and I forgot about it.
Say again?
I was at work, I went to work, and I forgot about it.
It's not unusual in a case of this magnitude. These jurors have to be able to be committed to being at this trial every day for 6 to 9 months. The average individual cannot just take away that time from work, from their children, from picking up their child responsibilities and other caregiving responsibilities. So that's why we're seeing a large number of jurors that have not been seated for this particular panel just as yet. And let's remember, there's also 14 defendants. So once we move past the hardship phase, each of these defendants has the right to question the juror to determine if there's any potential bias, if there's any sort of thoughts that the juror may have preconceived about these individuals, about rap music, about artistic expression. So this could be a very long process.
Put them down. There seems to be a lot going on with rappers nowadays in regards to them going to court for various crimes. You all likely know about the one with YNW Melly and how that's been dragging out for a while, but it's not the only court case that's been having issues. The case with Young Thug has been over a year in the making. And now that we're finally in court, things aren't going as you would expect. His charges are being challenged, jurors aren't acting as they should, and some are even wondering if his newest album will be used against him.
It's going to have a very chilling effect, Kira, because what you're saying is that you no longer have this freedom of artistic expression. Metaphor, hyperbole, those are all things that we hear in music every day. But now you don't have that sort of expression because heaven forbid something, you're tied to something later. These words can now be used against you. So it's going to have a very chilling effect on music, on the music industry as a whole, especially on rap music.
We'll break it down for you, but first be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an upload from us. And with that being said, let's get straight into the video. Attempts to lower charges. While Young Thug, real name Jeffrey Williams, and YSL's RICO case is in full swing, his legal defense team is trying to set the record straight on it. Moreover, Thug's attorney Brian Steele filed various motions to change the implications, proceedings, and parameters of the trial. So, nothing too much. According to court documents obtained by various sources, he made moves on July 5th to try to exclude any and all recorded jail calls made by anyone other than Mr. Williams as evidence in the trial, as said jail calls are hearsay and or violate the confrontation clause. Furthermore, his adamancy on the matter suggests that these calls from others could unjustly incriminate the Atlanta trap pioneer or even unfairly paint him in a negative light unrelated to his accused crimes. Another example of Steele's motions are his recent one to block another detective's testimony. Apparently, the attorney found out that the law enforcement official would falsely state that Young Thug cooperated with officials regarding a homicide. Steele labeled the witness as not accurate, saying his narrative places Mr. Williams' character at issue and is irrelevant to the trial of the above referenced case.
This case has definitely sparked a movement to protect Black art and freedom of speech. And testifying today are experts on rap music, including the co-author of Rap on Trial, Eric Nielsen. So what are Young Thug's lawyers likely trying to prove by putting this type of witness on the stand, Shauna?
In defense of his right to a fair trial, he also wants all 911 calls made by Thugger in relation to this murder blocked from being used as evidence. It's certainly a clever tactic because if he puts law enforcement on the defensive, it could sway the jury. Plus, the last thing any trial needs is for someone to lie on the stand and throw everything into disrepair. Regardless, there are other initiatives by Young Thug's defense that might be harder to follow through on. For example, Steele wants certain RICO charges in the case dismissed. In order to satisfy the crime of RICO conspiracy, the prosecution must prove beyond a reasonable doubt that at least one overt act was committed in furtherance of the conspiracy within the statute of limitations. The motion reads, to satisfy the statute of limitations, the overt act must have occurred within 5 years of the filing of the bill of indictment with the clerk of court. To elaborate, apparently some of the charges relate to incidents that occurred over 5 years before the massive indictment. Even if this got pulled off, this move would only dismiss about 61 acts out of 192, so there's still plenty the court accused him of. As such, many wonder whether this will even cause the big shift the defense and YSL probably hopes for in the case. Given that this is a tangled web, it's hard to understand where each thread will lead us. That's one of the many reasons that this case has been such a mess since it tried to get started at the beginning of the year. We'll give Young Thug credit though, he's not the only one causing issues. The juror. On Wednesday, Fulton County Superior Court Judge Earl Glanville held a juror in contempt because she had not shown up to court at an earlier date. Glanville imposed the penalty instead of a 20-day stint in the slammer and a $1,000 hit to her wallet. This isn't the first time Glanville, who holds the rank of Brigadier General, Chief Judge in the U.S. Army Court of Criminal Appeals, and has served as a Commanding General in the NATO Rules of Law Support Mission / Rule of Law Field Force Afghanistan, has been strict with the jurors who don't show up when they're summoned. Back in January, Glanville ordered juror number 64 to write a 30-page essay on the importance of jury service. The penalty was imposed after the juror decided to take a prearranged trip to the Dominican Republic. On April 3rd, juror number 1004 was ordered to spend 3 days in jail after she filmed court proceedings on her cell phone. Glanville eventually released her later in the afternoon. July 4th marked 6 months since jury selection began in the massive organized crime trial of Jeffrey Lamar Williams, aka Young Young Thug. The process has already lasted longer than any other trial in Georgia history, and the trial itself could last for more than a year. Georgia's longest jury selection and its longest trial both came in the Atlanta public schools teacher scandal of 2014-2015. Almost 1,000 potential jurors have been called since January. The summons called being part of the trial called voir dire, the process used by prosecutors and defenders to select a fair and impartial jury. During voir dire, the jury panel is questioned by both parties' lawyers. The questions are intended to help the lawyers in the jury selection process. After voir dire, the jury is selected from the panel. Hundreds have requested exemptions from service for a variety of reasons: child care and elderly parent care obligations, medical reasons, and professional hardship, among others. The process has been repeatedly plagued by arrests, charges, and disruptions. 2 weeks ago, as reported by allhiphop.com, Young Thug's legal team had called Glanville's courtroom a fortress-like atmosphere. According to the report, they believe the jury pool's perception of the rapper is being negatively influenced, which, to be fair, is a legit complaint to have, because the last thing you want is the jury to see your client in a negative light simply because of the atmosphere. So yeah, as noted, things aren't going the best for Young Thug, even though he did have a bright spot not too long ago. The new album. 1 year after Young Thug was arrested on RICO charges in Atlanta, we're finally hearing from the eccentric Atlanta star again, and it's happening through his music. Business is Business, a 15-song album featuring the likes of Drake, Travis Scott, Lil Uzi Vert, 21 Savage, and Future, opens with a brief jailhouse call from Thug to Drake on Parade on Cleveland, but otherwise consists of songs that were presumably pulled from the large vault of recordings he built before the arrest. Which obviously answers a big question, because many of you likely wondered, how did he record music from jail? Well, he didn't, and even if he was able to via chats with his lawyer and such, the sound quality wouldn't be that good. But rappers aren't afraid to go and build up songs over time that they might not like at one point, but then release at another time after some editing and inspiration. And as we'll talk about later, when you try and make an album without your personal touches included, it's gonna cause things to suffer. But the thing that many people are paying attention to is that despite this being a prison album and thus not having the chance to rap about his circumstances, there might have been a line about a former friend who may or may not have put him in trouble. The snitch line. Young Thug rapped about someone snitching on a song off his new album, and many easily pointed the finger at Gunna as the one he was singing about. Y'all just a bunch of told and he was my homie. I can't miss him. Ain't nobody feel him. Young Thug raps. Fans have been weighing in on the lines on social media. Well, now we know how he feels. One person tweeted, "Please don't tell me he's talking about Gunna." Another person commented. Others were not convinced the lines were aimed at Gunna. It was recorded before Thug got locked up. Someone else posted. And that's the key thing here. These songs outside of that one prison call were all made by Young Thug before he was locked up a year ago. So this is likely a case of context and timing. After all, he certainly didn't make these songs predicting that he was going to be in jail and that one of his potential friends was going to sell him out. Right? Right. If you're wondering why Gunna has his ire, it's because the two were arrested together as part of the RICO case, for which Young Thug is still behind bars and now on trial for. As for Gunna, he got out eventually after taking a certain ruling where he would take punishment but not admit that he did anything wrong. But he is free and out in the world, and that has led many people, including those close to Young Thug, to think that he snitched on Young Thug to get himself out and give the prosecution ammunition against him. Gunna has denied this outright multiple times and even rapped about it, but given how the rap world views a potential snitch, it's not going the way that he wants. Gunna's musical response. Gunna also released some new music not too long ago, and he used it to address his release from prison and the accusations that he was guilty of something, mainly guilty of snitching. There isn't one specific song that references the case. Rather, these lines are sprinkled throughout a gift and a curse. On Rodeo Drive, he says he's confronted those who are referring to him as a snitch, rapping, "I know you heard, I've been pulling up pressing these who claiming I ratted. Say I did it and I swear that I ain't did it." He raps on Payback, later seeming to rebuke the concept of RICO charges altogether. Motherf the system, trying to give us all a sentence. Elsewhere, he's rapping more opaquely about relationships turned frosty, which will surely fuel endless online speculation. "We burned the bridge and cut the ties and forever apart, and I know there'll be a time you really show who you are," he says wistfully on the album Outro. On the lead single Bread and Butter, Gunna labels a former friend a hypocrite for bashing him but being closely tied to someone with a history of cooperating with authorities. "You switched on me when you know you in business with a rat, and the boy that's like your brother, ain't nobody speak speak on that. He raps, with Turn Your Back, Gunna refutes rumors that he's looking to leave YSL for a new label home, something that he's previously pushed back against via social media. I heard the rumors saying I'm packing up and flying out. We ain't going nowhere. I'm staying here, gonna fight it out. He pledges. He also talked about Young Thug in another track and basically said he did nothing wrong to him. So do we believe him? Hard to say, but we know that many in the rap game don't believe him. Some have outright stated they don't believe his tracks and statements, and that he's on the outs with the community. But whether Young Thug ends up in jail for his actions or for what others have done to him, allegedly, remains to be seen. And there you go, everyone, an update on all the things going on with Young Thug's case and what's the latest to go on with it. Are you shocked that things are occurring as they are within the case? Do you think Young Thug might find a way to get out of his predicament? Or will this end up with him going to jail for a long time? Let us know in the comments down below. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time on the channel.